Welcome to Rice TVX. On today's Rice Report, we are going to be talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This is just a beginning, or is this just a beginning? It's going to be a great episode. We got a lot to go over. I got a lot of links I'm going to be sharing on today's video. But before we get started, I'm going to be playing a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX and then a quick channel promo. If you're watching this on replay, I would say fast forward to about the 3.5-4 minute mark. This gives everybody time to get situated in today's live stream.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com.
And in case you don't know, we are live streaming on both Rice TVX and Rice TVX2. Both are on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to both channels. We are also simultaneously live streaming on float.app. That's FLOTE.app. It is an awesome social media platform that promotes free speech. So make sure you check it out. You can find me at Rice TVX. And you can always find information for the sponsors of Rice TVX down below in the video description. So be sure to check them out and make sure you smash the like button. It helps other people to find these kind of videos in the YouTube algorithm flow. It also helps people to find Rice TVX. Before we get into it, visit ricetvx.com and sign up for my mailing list so you never miss an update or new Rice TVX content. You will also find my various social media links and more. Make sure you're subscribed to Rice TVX and Rice TVX2, the backup channel. Both can be found on YouTube, and hit the notification bell to get alerted for new videos. You can also find Rice TVX on Odyssey and Library, where I have a full catalog of my videos, post up extra content, and share other appearances. And you can also find Rice TVX on BitChute. To support Rice TVX directly, you can contribute or send tips to PayPal, to Cash App, or cryptocurrencies via my Cointree link in the video description. Everything is appreciated. Another way to support what I do is by joining my Patreon channel, where you will get early access to some of my videos, exclusive content, and more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, the rest of the world seems to be smartening up with what's going on with this Russia-Ukraine situation. The sales of gold and silver, physical gold and silver, is going out the roof. So I definitely encourage you to make sure that you are taking advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. Get that free half ounce of silver, and it's another way that you can support Rice TVX. Get your free half ounce of silver. Take full advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange in 5 easy steps. 1. Visit moneymetals.com. 2. Be a first-time buyer. 3. Purchase a minimum of $100. 4. Use the promo code RICE. 5. Get a free half ounce of silver, and it's an additional way to support the channel. So make sure you're taking advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. It would be greatly appreciated, and it's a way that you can hedge against all this economic turmoil that's happening globally, especially what's happening in Russia, which we're going to be getting into. I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, I would appreciate if you smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to both Rice TVX and Rice TVX2. We have less than 2,000 subscribers on Rice TVX2. I have more than 25,000 on Rice TVX. It would be great if we could change that, because anything could happen to either channel, and it's awesome, and you should be subscribed. Well, it's not awesome, but you should be subscribed to both channels. I would definitely encourage it and appreciate it. So, Cheryl Williams, thank you for tuning in. Modern Guru, I appreciate you joining, man. I wish that you were doing content regularly. Then we could start doing some more shows together. Bobby Steels, appreciate you tuning in. Abel Matthew, Ronnie, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Definitely smash those like buttons. It would be greatly appreciated. Now, before I start sharing some articles, I got a few things that I want to go ahead and share. And then I got some information that's going to be scrolling across the bottom. So be sure to pay attention. I'm trying to make people aware of this. So read this. It's very important. Now, in regards to the Russia-Ukraine situation, it took me a few days to really collect information for me to be able to do the video that I would like to do. And there's a lot of information, so I'm reporting a lot. Now, I plan on doing more coverage of this topic, and hopefully there'll be less information to cover in future videos. But there's a lot to go over, so grab some popcorn. It's going to be an interesting episode. There's a lot of misinformation going on. They're showing on media outlets. Propaganda ministry is showing a lot of old footage, old photographs, old video footage of conflicts. So we're not exactly really 100% sure what's happening there. So I'm going to try to report this the best that I possibly can. I'm also going to be doing a video either tomorrow or Thursday as the third part to the World Economic Forum, which will be going over the digital revolution, including CBDCs. And we're going to be talking about Russia, CBDCs, China, and the United States and the rest of the world, the IMF, World Economic Forum. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be either on Wednesday or Thursday this week. In addition to all the misinformation, there's just a lot of propaganda that's being spread out, which is, who really knows what the truth is. Something that I did cover in my video from yesterday. Apparently, we are having troubles live streaming on Float. Well, apparently we are back. So I get notified when we have problems on any of the platforms. Make sure you're signing up for my mailing list at ricetvx.com so you don't miss any updates or new Rice TVX content. And you can also find all my social media information over there as well. And also 9:00 p.m. tonight, and a little less than 2 hours from now, President Biden is going to be giving his State of the Union address. So be sure to tune in for that. That should be interesting. So again, 9:00 p.m. Eastern time, President Biden, President Brandon, doing his State of the Union address.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
I love that. All right. And also the thing that I found out that I covered in yesterday's video is that President Zelensky from the Ukraine was actually a comedian actor who played in a show called Servant of the People, I believe was the correct name of it. And it was about a teacher who became president of Ukraine. That was before he became president of Ukraine. And that is towards the end of the video that I did yesterday in my second part of the World Economic Forum video. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. Okay, so where to begin? There's so much information happening. I mean, we had Russia basically invade the Ukraine. And in the process, I believe Putin has given a green light for the central banks, for the Federal Reserve to continue their money printing games, continue inflating the markets, inflating the system. I believe we will see a rate hike from the Federal Reserve, which I will get into, but I don't think it's going to be that large of a rate hike. I think we're talking about 25 basis points, which is like 0.25%. So, but I will be covering that on a future episode because Biden may be talking about that in his State of the Union address that's going to be happening tonight. Let's see here. Commodity prices I see going up. Energy prices I see rising because of what's happening in the petrol oil space. There is an oil crisis going on right now, the crude oil crisis. I don't know if this is all theater. Because again, I don't know what is real and what's not real. It's really kind of hard to distinguish reality. And before I get too deep in sharing everything, I want to go ahead and see who else has joined us and give some shout outs. So appreciate Ronnie. Will, thanks for joining us. Lisa Julian from Virginia. Awesome. I'm actually originally from Manassas, Virginia. I was born and raised in Manassas, Virginia. Spent the majority of my life in Northern Virginia. A lot in DC and Maryland, the DMV. So I'm not sure what part of Virginia you're from. Sean C., thanks for joining. I appreciate. Andy Lee, thanks for being in the house. D. Petty, I love the pothead name, great username, because I am definitely one myself, and it definitely helps to keep me sane, especially in these crazy times. Let's see who else is with us. We have Hector, the identity block. What's going on, my friend? Mr. X is in the house. It's good to see you. X like Rice TV X. So thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Charlie Wilson is watching from Australia, the land of Oz. Appreciate you tuning in, Charlie Wilson. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and pull up some articles. I want to make sure there wasn't anything else that I wanted to cover. Aside from letting people know that when I said bailing out the central banks is what Putin did, it's going to allow for global debt to continue to inflate, which is not going to be good when it really comes down to it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to share, and I don't have these first two things that I'm going to be sharing. I do not have them linked down below, but there's like 14 other articles that I'm going to be sharing information from, and all of those articles are linked in the video description. So be sure to check them out and read the entirety of these articles if this interests you, because this is a subject that's going to be affecting everybody, unfortunately. So this comes from the Ukraine Twitter account, and basically, stand with Ukraine. They're now accepting cryptocurrency donations, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT. They list their addresses. And what's powerful about this, considering what's happened to Russia and how that affects a lot of the situation in Europe, especially the situations in Ukraine, you've seen an outpour of support from the cryptocurrency community. I've seen a lot of different varying numbers, but crypto donations to Ukraine jumped to 20 million per CoinDesk. I've seen some that said 24 million. I've seen some that said 10 million. So I'm not really exactly sure, but you have a lot of different people in the cryptocurrency space that are stepping up. Just everyday people are stepping up and donating crypto, but you also have a lot of individuals like FTX founders Sam Bankman-Fried and Chain.com CEO Deepak Thapalayo. They have contributed as well. So the Ukraine government calls for donations to resist the Russian invasion and provide aid to those affected. Has been embraced by the crypto community with nearly 20 million raised in Ethereum and Bitcoin. Earlier on Monday, the donation figure hit 10 million mark, but significant uptick in donations during the day drove the figure past 20 million, according to on-chain data that was reviewed by Elliptic. So it's really interesting to think about how much has been donated in such a short amount of time. And this also shows you the power of cryptocurrencies and how they're able to bypass the traditional legacy system. And a lot of people are seeing cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, especially, for exactly what they were created for. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And hopefully we'll start seeing more adoption. At the time of making this video, let me go ahead real quick and pull up a chart so I can get an idea where we are at price. But last I looked, we were over 44K on the price of Bitcoin. And it's jumped up very significantly in the past 48 hours. And a lot of that is due to the Russian ruble and the people in Ukraine. So Bitcoin is right now, at the time of making this video, and we are live on the 1st of March, $44,527.25. I guess what I could do is pull that up for everybody else. And I was reading from CoinMarketCap. Here's CoinGecko. So 44, 511.30, up in 7 days, 16%. Ethereum right now is sitting right under $3,000. Tether is staying stable at $1. We have Binance Coin, BNB, sitting over 409. Now, this wasn't a cryptocurrency video. I just wanted to highlight the fact that all this has been going on. On-chain data shows that FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried donated $250,000 in Tether, and Chain.com CEO donated 100 Ethereum, which is about $277,000. So between the two of them, that is over $500,000 that was donated of the up to $20 million. So I think it's incredible that the cryptocurrency space has come to the aid of Ukraine. Also, I got to give, I got to commend Elon Musk for sending some Starlink terminals over to Ukraine, because there are a lot of cyber attacks and issues with power going on in regards to situations in the Ukraine. So that they don't lose internet due to cyber attacks, they have this alternative with Starlink. So I think it's really cool. A shipment of Starlink user terminals, small antennas that allow customers to access SpaceX's satellite-based internet service, arrived in Ukraine on Monday, providing a backstop for Ukrainians who may see their traditional service interrupted amid the Russian invasion. SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk announced Saturday that he had activated Starlink internet service in Ukraine as the country suffered power outages and gaps in internet service due to Russians' invasion. Musk also promised at the time that more were en route. So it's really cool that people are stepping up. I do commend Elon Musk. I'm not a fan of the centralized technology, but what Starlink is representing as far as off-world internet and being able to allow the Ukrainians to continue to have internet during this crazy time period that's going on in Russia, I think is awesome and needs to be commended. All right. Let's see here. I want to go ahead real quick and see what people are saying in the chat. Jim Hunt, thanks for joining. Awakened One, thanks for being in the house. I appreciate. Let me scroll up just a little bit. Yes, let's go. Let's go. All right. So Lisa Julian says she's near Virginia Beach. Awesome. I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina currently. And Dave Winter is currently in Canada. Thanks for joining us, Dave Winter. We have Lime, Stone Bear, True Blood. It's just a ride, guys. Yeah, I mean, again, who knows what's real? Who knows what is theater and what's not theater? I do know that Putin is a part of the World Economic Forum. He's an alumni for the young global leaders, which Klaus Schwab bragged about, and I did share that in the video yesterday, part 2 of the Great Reset. Also, President Zelensky, who, in addition to being an actor, playing a teacher who became president of Ukraine, who ultimately became president of Ukraine, is a part of the World Economic Forum. And I shared that information when he was brought to Davos for the first time in 2021, when he was being introduced. And they were talking about reforming the government from within. And it's very interesting. So if you haven't seen part 2 of the Great Reset that I did yesterday, it's a long video. The last half hour of the video is me pretty much going through the live chat. So it's about an hour of content, but it's a lot to go over with the rabbit hole of the World Economic Forum. So it's crazy. And so between them all being a part of the World Economic Forum and the World Economic Forum penetrating cabinets and governments around the world to push this agenda, it's like, what is really going on here? And it seems like the people that are going to suffer right now in this situation currently are the people of Ukraine. And that's very sad. So that's where I'm very, very pleased to see all the people coming to support the Ukrainians, because they definitely need it more than ever right now, 100%. I tell you what I will do. I want to go through the information because I do have a lot of information. So I will come back to the chat here towards the end of the video. That way, anybody who's watching on replay will know that I will be heading to the live chat after I'm done talking about all the various articles. So this is the first article that I have linked down below. So this is article number 1 of 14. I believe it's 14. And again, I will come back and check the live comments. If you're enjoying this video, I would ask that you please give it a thumbs up. That would be definitely greatly appreciated if you have not already. Okay, so let me go ahead and go over. This is what you need to know. This is currently right now what's happening, updated at 5:07 p.m. Eastern Time, March 1st, 2022. It is 7:21 p.m. Eastern Time, so we're talking 2 hours and 15 minutes, 14 minutes. So it's pretty up to date. Russia told Kyiv residents to flee their homes and rained rockets on the city of, and if I mispronounce names, I apologize, Kharkiv. But a U.S. official said an armored Russian column bearing down on the capital was stalled due to food and fuel shortages. Ukraine President Zelensky urged NATO members to impose a non-fly zone to stop Russia's air force, something the military alliance has ruled out. The World Bank is preparing a $3 billion support package for Ukraine. And you can read more if you want to click in the link down below. Right now, Russia ambassador to the United Nations says to Moscow sees no desire on part of Ukraine to find a legitimate and balanced solution to the problems. The G7 will impose further sanctions on Russia. The U.S. President Biden and Ukraine's Zelensky discussed how the United States and its allies are working to hold Russia accountable, including sanctions. America's approval of Biden handling of Ukraine crisis rose in a Reuters poll, and 71% of respondents believe the United States should provide Ukraine with weapons. Russia said it would retaliate over the U.S. expulsion of 12 of its diplomats at the United Nations for allegedly spying. U.S. officials are co-founded by Russia restraint so far in use of its air power against Ukraine. The World Court will, on March 7th and 8th, hear Ukraine's case seeking to halt Moscow's military action. There is a lot of information to go over. Ukrainian cyber resistance groups plan digital attacks against critical Russian infrastructure, such as railroads and electricity grids. The United States and 30 countries agreed to release 60 million barrels of oil from strategic reserves to stabilize global energy markets, because right now we're seeing crude oil go through the roof. Russia, which describes its assault as a special operation, not an invasion seeking territory, said it was placing temporary curbs on foreign investors seeking to exit Russian assets. Ukrainians rush to buy guns to protect their communities. Rocket strikes on the center of Kharkiv killed at least 10 people and wounded 35. The UK introduced new sanctions against Russia, including a ban on ships and fresh financial measures. More companies, including Apple, Ford Motor, and shipping line Maersk, reduced or suspended operations in Russia. That's a lot. There's more information. There's some quotes, but this is the most up-to-date that I could find. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, Russia obviously invades Ukraine, and what we're covering here. This is talking about it's 7 a.m. So this is from 19 hours, 25 minutes ago, and what you need to know. And it's talking about as Ukraine waits to a 6th day of Russia invasion, here's what you need to know if you're just joining. 40-plus mile long convoy. New satellite images show a Russian military convoy that has reached the outskirts of Kyiv and is more than 40 miles long. A second wave of fears. U.S. officials told lawmakers in classified briefings Monday that a second wave of Russian troops will likely overcome the Ukrainian resistance, according to two people familiar with the briefings. I'm surprised that Ukraine is standing still. War crime accusations. You have Ukrainian President Zelensky accused Russia of war crimes for bombing the city of Kharkiv. He said that in 5 days, 56 missile strikes and 113 cruise missiles were launched in Ukraine by Russian forces. Civilian deaths. Multiple officials told CNN that they were concerned by the increase in violence, civilian casualties, and indiscriminate killings in recent days. The UN said at least 406 civilians have been reported hurt or killed since the invasion, including at least 102 killed within the past few more days. More than 500,000 refugees have fled Ukraine. What has come of the talks? Zelensky said he's analyzing the results of Monday's talks between Russia and Ukrainian delegation at the Belarus border, which lasted 5 hours. There can be fair negotiations, says Zelensky, if one side does not hit the other side with rocket artillery at the time of negotiations, which makes sense. Sanctions bite. Russians scrambled to prevent financial meltdown Monday as the economy was slammed by a broadside of crushing Western sanctions imposed over the weekend. Putin held crisis talks with his top economic advisors after the ruble crashed to record low against the U.S. dollar. Snake Island defenders. The Ukrainian force of Snake Island in the Black Sea, who were initially feared dead, are alive and well, according to the Ukrainian Navy. A statement from the Navy said the soldiers on the island repelled 2 attacks by Russian forces, but in the end were forced to surrender due to lack of ammunition. I think those are the guys that told Russia to fuck off. Sporting bodies punish Russia. So the FIFA, FIFA, and UEFA have banned Russian national football teams and clubs from competition, and World Rugby suspended Russia and Belarus from all international rugby and cross-border club activities. According to the International Tennis Federation, said it will not hold any events in Belarus this year. So that's pretty interesting to think of all of the things, all the ramifications that are occurring and happening because of what Russia decided to do. Is it a false flag? I do know that there is something happening in Ukraine. I've been on around the blockchain the past 2 Fridays with Niku from Crypto Never Sleeps, and I'm going to try to get him on the show. I've been trying to reach out to him. He's been trying to keep me up to date about what's going on from his perspective, what he's seeing. He lives in Ukraine. He is a content creator. Crypto Never Sleeps is his channel. All right. Get back to the articles. Russian forces escalate attacks on Ukraine's civilian areas. Russian forces, and I did not cite where all these articles are coming from. You can see this, and they are linked down below. There's a lot of information to go over, so I'm not going to be going over each source and where they come from specifically. You can see it very clearly. Something I am going to do is go ahead and go full screen for just a little bit. Make it a little bit easier for everybody to see what I'm sharing. I will come back on screen here in just a moment. Okay, so Russian forces escalate attacks on Ukraine civilian areas. And this was from 15 minutes ago. This is updated 15 minutes ago. Russian forces escalated their attacks on crowded urban areas Tuesday, bombarding the central square in Ukraine, second biggest city, and Kyiv's main TV tower in what the country's president called a blatant campaign of terror. Nobody will forgive, nobody will forget, President Zelensky vowed after the bloodshed on the square of Kharkiv. Ukrainian authorities said 5 people were killed in the attack on the TV tower, which is a couple of miles from central Kyiv and a short walk from numerous apartment buildings. A TV control room and power substation were hit, and at least some Ukrainian channels briefly stopped broadcasting. So there's a lot of movement on part of Russia into Ukraine and attacking high civilian areas, which, you know, these kind of things happen in war, but as President Zelensky is saying, these are war crimes. So we'll see how this ends up in results. I do have an infographic, which I'll be sharing here in just a moment after I share a little bit of this. Actually, I'll just go ahead and share the infographic now because it's got a lot of helpful information that you'll be able to look at as I'm reading some of this information from this article. A list of global sanctions on Russia for the war in Ukraine. And I'll go ahead and stop my banner from scrolling across so you can look at everything. And I'll even remove my watermark for subscribe. But make sure you subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay. So as you can see, these are various sanctions placed on Russia by governments around the world. So as you're viewing this, countries around the world are imposing fresh sanctions against Russia over its invasion in Ukraine. The United States, the European Union, the United Kingdom, and Canada banned certain Russian banks from the SWIFT system on Saturday. The SWIFT system is a way for banks to send money internationally. So when you talk about people wiring money, they're utilizing the SWIFT system, which is really antiquated and slow. And I will be talking in the video of part 3 for the Great Reset. When I talk about CBDCs, I will be talking about Russia getting around sanctions with utilizing cryptocurrencies, which has also been Biden, I think, has also put some sort of sanctions on digital assets in regards to Russia. I'm not sure if that's going to be in this article or not. So the SWIFT system, the high security network that facilitates payments among 11,000 financial institutions in 200 countries, basically the world. And earlier this week, Germany halted certification of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline following Moscow's actions. The European Union, United States, United Kingdom, Japan, Switzerland, Australia, and Taiwan are all hit with new injunctions over the weekend, condemning the military incursion that unfolded over the past 24 hours. So Russia is paying a price for its aggression. The European Union, along with the United States, UK, and Canada, pledged Saturday to remove Russia from SWIFT. I will go ahead real quick and get this infographic back off so that we can share the article. I'll throw up all my other information back on here. Again, I do appreciate you tuning in. If you do enjoy these kind of videos, if you enjoy the Rice Report, make sure you smash that like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. I really would. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and continue. So the European Union. Now, the other thing, Switzerland. Switzerland ditches neutrality to sanction Russia and Putin. And this is basically unheard of. Switzerland has always played the neutral side. They've never gotten involved in anything. It's a major hub for storing wealth that is popular with Russian oligarchs and is breaking its tradition of neutrality to sanction Russia. That's crazy to think about. So even historically neutral Switzerland is adopting the EU sanctions against Russia. The country, which is a major center for wealthy Russian oligarchs, said it's freezing the assets of certain individuals with immediate effect. The sanctions and asset freeze will apply to Putin, Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, and Foreign Minister Lavrov. So that's pretty interesting, and the sanctions will be on a case-by-case basis. France said that the country will go after luxury goods owned by Russians targeted by sanctions following a Defense Council meeting by French President Emmanuel Macron. Japan said Monday that it will impose more sanctions on Russia, aligning with the G7. Australia leaders said Friday that it would begin imposing further sanctions on oligarchs whose economic weight is of strategic significance to Moscow and over 300 members of the Russian Duma. Pretty interesting. New Zealand is prohibiting the export of goods to the Russian military and security forces in response to the invasion of Ukraine. Taiwan announced that it would join economic sanctions against Russia without specifying which measures were being considered. The United States. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announced further actions against Russia on Monday, including barring Russian financial institutions, such as the Russian Central Bank, from making transactions in American dollars. The U.S. also imposed sanctions on the state-owned Russian Direct Investment Fund, calling it a known slush fund for Putin and his inner circle. The aggressive moves were taken to prohibit Russia from accessing a rainy day fund the officials said Moscow has been expecting to rely upon during the invasion of Ukraine. Instead of using the reserves to buffer a plummeting ruble, which basically turned to rubble, Russia will no longer be able to access the funds it keeps in U.S. dollars. So that's pretty interesting. The United Kingdom imposed fresh sanctions on Russia's banks Monday and said it had a hit list of oligarchs to be sanctioned, according to the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. The country will prevent Sberbank, or I'm not sure if I'm even saying that right, but Russia's largest bank from clearing payments in sterling, and 3 more Russian banks will face a full asset freeze. So a lot is going on. The rest of the world is basically telling Putin they do not want him to continue his attack on Ukraine. We'll see how this results. Okay, I showed the information on Switzerland. The next thing I wanted to share was, amidst all this turmoil, the Russian ruble is worth less than 1 cent after West tightens sanctions. And this was an article from this afternoon, about 5 hours ago, roughly. Basically, you can read it. The Russian ruble fell about 30% against the dollar on Monday, making it worth less than 1 cent after the U.S., the European Union, the UK announced moves to block some Russian banks from the SWIFT international payment system and to restrict Russia's use of its massive foreign currency reserves. The system is used to move billions of dollars around more than 11,000 banks and other financial institutions around the world. The ruble recovered ground after Russia's central bank sharply raised its key interest rate Monday to shore up the currency and prevent a run on banks. I think that was like 20%. Let's see if it says here. Early Tuesday, the ruble was at 104.51 to the dollar, down 3.2%. The Moscow Stock Exchange was closed again as it was on Monday. A weaker ruble could cause inflation to surge, potentially angering Russians whose budgets will be stretched by soaring prices, and it will also add strain across Russia's financial system. So that's something that Putin is definitely going to have to consider. Americans barred from transactions. In another move to isolate Russia's financial system, the Department of Treasury on Monday barred Americans from doing business with Russia's central bank, the country's Ministry of Finance, and its sovereign wealth fund. So they are really cutting off Russia from the rest of the world. But Russia and China seem to be working together, and it's affecting Russia, but it doesn't seem to be scaring Russia or putting Russia in any sort of position to say, oh, we're going to stop our bad. So I definitely don't think that's going to be happening. All right. I want to go ahead and share a few more articles. This is a article. I want to make sure everything is good on the recording end or the live stream end, and it is. Okay. Just got to double check things periodically. Yahoo News reports, and this was on Monday, article, 8 EU countries, European Union countries, support Ukraine's call to fast-track membership talks. So Ukraine is trying to fast-track a membership to get into the European Union. On Monday, the leaders of 8 European Union countries in Central and Eastern Europe gave their support to Ukraine President Zelensky's plea to quickly facilitate his country's membership in the EU. We, the presidents of the EU member states, and a list of various different states, believe that Ukraine deserves receiving an immediate EU accession perspective. Zelensky asked for immediate EU membership as Russian troops encircle the cities in Ukraine. So it is very possible that they're going to fast track this membership and that Ukraine will become a part of the European Union. Now, Putin looks to be trying to reform, put back the Soviet Union, and Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. So will Ukraine end up being a part of the new reformed Soviet Union, or will Ukraine be a part of the European Union, and will NATO come to its aid? The EU is also going to fund the purchase of weapons for the first time. I thought this was an interesting article from the Wall Street Journal. The EU to fund purchase of weapons for the first time and ban entry of Russian planes into EU airspace. So the European Union for the first time will finance the purchase and delivery of weapons in a show of support for Ukraine against Russia's invasion. So instead of other countries coming in and fighting, they're sending ammunitions and they're sending weapons and they're trying to help. The EU will also extend to Belarus sanctions similar to those imposed on Russia. The ban the entry of Russian planes in EU airspace, and ban from the 27-country bloc Russian state-owned media outlets Russia Today and Sputnik, as well as their subsidiaries. So this is a really big deal, the fact that not only is there a possibility of fast-tracking membership into the EU, but the fact that the EU is funding the purchase of weapons and delivering those weapons to Ukraine. That is a huge deal. The next article from Yahoo News reported on Sunday, the 27th of February, Kosovo asked U.S. for permanent military base and a speedier NATO membership. So they're also asking to be expedited into NATO. Kosovo has asked the United States to establish a permanent military base in the country and speed up its integration into NATO after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Kosovo's defense minister Armand Mihaj said on Sunday, the United States has already 635 soldiers in the Balkan country to maintain the fragile peace as part of NATO's peacekeeping mission. So not only do they want a permanent U.S. base, but as I said, they want to be recognized as part of NATO. Kosovo's 2008 independence is recognized by more than 110 countries, mainly Western unions. Kosovo is still not a United Nations member over objections from Russia. Just interesting to think about all the different things that are taking place. Okay, now the next article. And a lot of people have heard about this, but Putin's nuclear threat set the West on edge by promising a response never before seen in history if other countries interfere in Ukraine, which other countries are interfering in Ukraine. The Russian leader upended decades of relative stability. The first images out of Russia's fresh invasion of Ukraine appeared to herald a fairly traditional land war, tanks battling, artillery firing, and planes swooping low over cities. But even as Western leaders moved to craft a strong response to Putin's unprovoked aggression, they did so warily. conscious that he would that the dramatic escalation in Eastern Europe could spill over into two new domains with much larger implications for the world beyond: cyberspace and nuclear weaponry. I'm not saying that we're going to have nukes happen. I'm not saying this is going to lead into World War III. I don't know what's going to happen and what's going to come out of the situation, but it is definitely something that people need to take in consideration and be alarmed about. While the nuclear threat is largely receded from public conscious in the more than quarter century since the end of the Cold War, the U.S. and Russia still have thousands of nuclear weapons. Both have around 6,500 in their current inventory, although a small fraction are kept in its ready in silos, bombers, and submarines. The U.S. and Russia have both spent billions upgrading their nuclear weapons in recent years, and nearly 90% of Russia's nuclear stockpile has been modernized. So these threats are very real. And what Putin has said is definitely very alarming. It's raising flags, and people are taking notice, because that is one thing that people do not want to see is nuclear war. I believe that is why we're not seeing other countries going over and fighting on Ukrainian soil against the Russians, because there would be repercussions. The sanctions, I don't believe, are going to warrant any sort of nuclear activity, but interference and getting involved in the actual Ukrainian soil, I think would. So Putin puts nuclear forces on high alert, escalating tensions. The situation, again, is just getting crazier and crazier. So you really, honestly, just need to make sure you're paying attention and not only listening to what the mainstream news is saying, because you definitely need to get their perspective, but make sure that you're looking at independent sources as well. And make sure that you're doing a deeper dive on these articles so that you can have a better comprehension of everything that I'm going over. If I was to read everything in all these articles, I wouldn't be able to do this video in a time period that I want to do. And I want to make sure I'm doing justice with this video, which is the reason why it's so long and there's so many links that I'm sharing. There's only two more. Said I was going to try to keep this to about the hour mark, and it looks like I'm being very successful with that. I do have a meeting in a little bit, so I'm not going to be able to spend a lot of time with the live chat, but I will be coming to the live chat here in just a few. Give me one moment. All right. So President Putin dramatically escalated East-West tensions by ordering Russian nuclear forces put on high alert Sunday, while Ukraine's embattled leader agrees to talk with Moscow as Putin's troops and tanks drove deeper into the country, closing in around the capital. Now, the peace talks, do I have any articles on the peace talks? No, I don't. The peace talks, I mean, there wasn't a lot of fruition that came from the peace talks. I did mention that President Zelensky is going to be reviewing, and hopefully there could be some more additional talks, and maybe something could come of these. But let's see here. Citing aggressive statements by NATO and tough financial sanctions, Putin issued a directive to increase the readiness of Russia's nuclear weapons, raising fears that the invasion of Ukraine could lead to nuclear war, whether by design or by mistake. The Russian leader is potentially putting in play forces that, if there's a miscalculation, could make things much more dangerous. So a senior U.S. defense official speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss rapidly unfolding military operations. Putin's directive came as Russian forces encountered strong resistance from Ukraine defenders. Moscow had so far failed to win control of Ukraine's airspace, despite advances across the country. U.S. officials say they believe the invasion has been more difficult and slower than the Kremlin envisioned, and that could change as Moscow adapts. So Putin has his threats. He puts the Russian nuclear forces on high alert. I think if it's DEFCON 1 through 5, and I think they would be what's equivalent to our DEFCON 2, and DEFCON 1 would be the most severe, with DEFCON 5 being the least severe. So it would be equivalent to DEFCON 2 in the United States. Really interesting to think about. But again, I think this is why you're not seeing troops from other nations stepping forth on the Ukrainian soil and supporting and fighting with the Ukrainian troops against the Russians. I don't know if this is true. This was reported yesterday at 3:09 p.m. With the New York Post. Specially trained Russian mercenaries are sent to kill Ukraine President Zelensky, reports claims. A specially trained force of ruthless Kremlin-backed mercenaries has been sent to Ukraine to assassinate President Zelensky and his top aides, a new report says. More than 400 million. More than 400 Russian operatives from the shadowy so-called Wagner Group, a private militia assembled by an ally of President Putin, are in Kyiv preparing to kill the Ukrainian leader and his right-hand people so Moscow could take control of the country. And I believe if it is true, they're just awaiting word. Let's see here. The mercenary soldiers were flown to Ukraine from Africa 5 weeks ago and offered a handsome financial bonus if they succeed in their mission. So it looks like they may be an insurance policy on Russia's part. If this information is in fact true, I did not see a lot of other reports on this, but this does come from the New York Post. Russian mercenaries sent to kill Ukraine President Zelensky. Now, the most ironic thing about this entire event, I mean, the ramifications of it are bad enough, but and a little bit of comedy relief, because you can't help but laugh when you hear this next piece of news. But the Taliban have called on Russia to show restraint in Ukraine. In an irony-free announcement, the Taliban, who violently seized power in Afghanistan last year, called on Russia and Ukraine to resolve the conflict peacefully. In a statement, the Islamic group, who seized control of Afghanistan in August after years of bloody warfare, called on Russia and Ukraine to protect the lives of Afghans living in the country. Russia launched its full-scale military invasion of Ukraine on Thursday, attacking on multiple fronts on land, air, and sea. Today, Russian forces are closing in on the capital of Kyiv, a city of 2.8 million people. The Taliban said on Friday that the group is closely watching the development in Ukraine and expressed concern over the possibility of civilian casualties in a statement released by the group's foreign ministry. The Islamists said it will take a neutral position in the conflict. The Islamic Emirate calls for restraint by both parties. All sides need to desist from taking positions that could intensify violence. The Taliban urged both sides to cease clashes and asked them to resolve the crisis through dialogue and peaceful means. And it's like, when I talk about our world turning into like bizarro world, this is like a perfect example of exactly that. The Taliban is telling Russia to chill. The Taliban is giving advice on being peaceful. It's really interesting to think about. Okay. Make sure you take advantage, get your free half ounce of silver with my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. That's right. You get a free half ounce of silver, and it's another way to support the channel. Make sure you use the promo code RICE. Be a first-time buyer and purchase a minimum of $100. And also be sure that you sign up for my mailing list at Rice TVX so you don't miss any new updates or Rice TVX content. And after you're done signing up for my mailing list, you will find all my various social media accounts if you would like to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, other video platforms. I am trying to get my subscriber base up on BitChute. So if you're not subscribed to Rice TVX on BitChute, I would definitely encourage you to head over there and subscribe. And also, again, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Rice TVX 2 has less than 2,000 subscribers, while Rice TVX has over 25,000. That means there are over 23,000 subscribers from Rice TVX who are not subscribed to Rice TVX 2. And I would like to get those numbers up, because you never know what's going to happen to either channel. And if something happens to Rice TVX, then Rice TVX 2 will become the main channel. So I definitely encourage you to make sure that you are subscribed to both. And now I'm going to go ahead and look at the comments. I do want to let people know that I did an interview earlier this afternoon with Gareth Soloway. He's a 20-year plus veteran trader He's a technical analysis master. We had an awesome conversation that's available on my Patreon channel right now. I'll be releasing that tomorrow. I may be doing a live stream tomorrow. I may be doing part 3 of the Great Reset. If I don't do it tomorrow, Wednesday the 2nd, I'll be doing it Thursday the 4th. So make sure you pay attention because I will promote that and schedule it in advance. All right, so I want to go ahead and see what everybody has been saying during the conversation. I apologize for ignoring a lot of the conversation during the majority of this video, but it was important for me to focus on all of these articles because, again, it was like 14 different articles that I shared that are linked in the video description, as well as the Twitter and the crypto donations. Okay, well, there's a lot of comments. It's going to be really hard for me to be able to go back through all the comments. And Michael Crumrine, this is my cousin. I thought you weren't talking conspiracy theory. Here you are. No, actually, Stranger Than Fiction a lot of times covers what people would consider to be conspiracies, but everything that I'm reporting right now is all pretty much factual. Just reading articles. I'm not really speculating on anything. And as Ronnie says, definitely make sure you smash that like button. Putin has spent the last 5 years buying gold, gearing up for war with them and China. I agree, 100%. We talk about that, me and Gareth, in a video that we did today that'll come out tomorrow. I'm not sure what happened in Cali. Mocha, I love you too. I love everybody who tunes in. I love everybody, period. I may not like everybody, but I love everybody as much as I possibly can. Tillis Ross, just because everybody is doing it doesn't mean it's right. Not sure what that's in reference to, but that would be a correct statement. I want to go ahead real quick. I'm going to have to kind of breeze through. I'm not going to be able to answer everything that everybody's saying, but I greatly appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. Again, smash the like button. It would be greatly appreciated. Trick says, made it while you're still alive. I'll have to rewatch from the beginning. Appreciate you tuning in, Trick, and I appreciate all your support. And we're definitely going to have a chat here soon. It's just hard finding the time with my crazy schedule. Hankowitz says they knew what the world's reaction would be. They're not phased. And that is very much possible. 4 years ago, China and Russia were working on a new Eastern Bloc currency. Talk stifled, but they both drove up the price of gold to double. Now, what's interesting about Russia and China is the BRIC nation bank situation. The fact that they're both working on CBDCs, and they could just keep trade between themselves. So it's very possible a lot of these sanctions really won't have the effect, because they're really not having the effect, really, aside from the ruble, which was expected because the ruble has been on a decline since the Crimea situation, which me and Gareth talk about as well in a video coming out tomorrow. All right, here. Ukraine can't become anything. It is nothing. Its flag isn't even registered. Well, I'm not familiar with that, but Ukraine is, if they get accepted in the European Union, they're being identified as a nation. So I'm not really sure what the registration of a flag. I'm not really familiar with a lot of flag etiquette. The U.S. government don't like Americans. It does seem like that way at times. It's a land at sea. Let's see here. It's all being laid out in our faces. I would definitely agree with that. Bobby Steele, Highway of Death in Iraq. That's on YouTube. False flag on American Barracks missiles killed 60 U.S. soldiers, and then they took out millions fleeing into Kuwait. I'd bet our own government did the 60 in, and that's very much possible. I mean, there's a lot of trickery and fuckery going on that is not cool, and we definitely need to stand united. When enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people. Period, point blank. Let's see here. I'm showing my cousin favoritism. The treaties that caused Ukraine to get rid of its nuclear arsenal stated that Ukraine could not become part of NATO. Interesting. I have to look more into that. Michael is going to be coming on the show here soon. I have not seen that you scheduled yourself, Michael, but it'd be great if you did. Let's see here. Again, thanks again. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's kind of weird going through comments and trying to highlight these and comment back in retrospect. Let's see here. The other countries don't have a leg to stand on legally. Putin said, stay out of what's not your affair. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing because there are Ukrainians that are definitely pro being part of Russia and Soviet Union, 100%. So it looks like there's a little bit of a civil divide amongst the people. Rise, I sent you 2 Bitcoin and you didn't send me 8 Bitcoin back. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to send you 8 Bitcoin back, and I never got the 2 Bitcoin in the first place to send you 8 back. So send me the 2 Bitcoin. Yeah, I love you, brother. We definitely need to talk. My schedule tomorrow during the day should be more free. I've got a meeting tonight and several meetings tomorrow. That's why I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing a live stream tomorrow 100% for sure or not, but I definitely will have that interview with Gareth Soloway coming out. Ronnie, feeling very passionate right now, sending apologizes if she offended anybody. I hope we shouldn't be taking offense to one another. We should be loving each other and embracing our differences and agree to disagree when things get heated. That would be my recommendation. I'm not worried about the asteroid agenda via nuke and fake media. Good point, Mr. X. All right. Nothing in the latest stream is true. It's well, I mean, now there is some information that they're reporting. I mean, regarding the sanctions, the SWIFT system, all that's been pretty accurate. So I don't want to completely knock it. That's why I'm encouraging people to pay attention to the mainstream narrative, in addition to looking into independent and alternative sources. Sporting strap on. Tricky M says, while the Russia is going on, what are your own government sneaking in? Yeah, there's some interesting stuff about universal basic income being pushed through Canada, from what I understand. So pay attention to that. And yeah, obviously, but it's still interesting that you have a violent militant group coming out calling for peace. Let's see. What's next? ISIS and picnics. Yes. And definitely, please make sure to like and share. Share. If you like videos like this, if you like this information, if you think I'm trying to report good information, I'm providing valuable information that others should hear, definitely share the video. And by smashing the like button, you do help me with the YouTube algorithm. Every time I get a strike, it takes me out of the algorithm and I got to work and build it back up. And that's kind of where I'm at. So it's just one of these things I've got to continually do. TPA is definitely in the house. Jim Hunt, wars usually have a little violence, but when a superpower attacks for 4 days and less than millions dead, is it really war or warning? I know, that's why I said it seems like a lot of theater going on, and you got an actor as the president of Ukraine, and they're both a part of the World Economic Forum. So it's a lot to think about. And you're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. DM me sometime. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And yes, if you know, then you know. So make sure you schedule. That would be great. And Tricky says, yeah, Russia's so bad. USA just blowed up everything. It's going to be interesting. I don't think the US is going to get involved with this, aside from supplying artillery, ammunition, weapons. Again, I appreciate you, Trick. Thank you so much for being understanding. I will rephrase that. NATO will blow up everything. Interesting. Is Putin also in the plans for the World Economic Forum Great Reset? I mean, a part of the Great Reset would be an economic collapse and introduction of like a global currency or a currency reset. And being that the Russian ruble has crashed, it definitely needs a reset. All right, my friend, I'm flexible. So I'm very flexible. If you're not finding a time on my calendar that works, hit me up and we'll make sure it works. Your fam. Love you too, my friend. And we definitely need to talk about Bitcoin 2022. And Carlos says, it's my understanding that they are supporting the new nations against their freedoms, so Russia is helping them. Putin is a good guy. That is a potential perspective. We're going to have to pay more attention. You send me 2 Bitcoin and I'll send you 4 Bitcoin back. So send me the 2 Bitcoin first, Michael. Yeah, we definitely got to talk about the shitcoin and the Bitcoin. 100%. I appreciate everybody having some good camaraderie in the chat. Looks like we have a lot of awesome people watching, awesome people enjoying the chat and talking with each other, and I appreciate. Hankowitz, Ronnie, there's literally isn't one thing you could say that would offend me. Being offended is a choice. That is well said, Hankowitz. I need to take note of that because being offended is a choice. Well said. Carla in the USA is trying to hide the hunter's bad business in there. Hide the hunter bad business in there. I'm assuming we're talking about Mr. Biden's son, the hunter. The Great Reset in the West is real. Well, the Great Reset all over the world is going to be very real. And I definitely encourage people to make sure you're checking out my 2 parts so far of my World Economic Forum, actually the Great Reset series, part 1 and 2. Great information to kind of give you up to speed about what Klaus Schwab is trying to do and how he's penetrating governments. He makes it sound so dirty, and I guess it is dirty. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you are around. I'm not sure why you're not. I'm putting out an average of 5 to 6 videos a week, so sometimes 4 on a low end. So I would suggest that you turn on your notification bell if you haven't already. And if you've already turned on your notifications and you haven't gotten any notifications, then I would encourage you to turn it off and back on. And also, I encourage people to periodically unsubscribe and resubscribe just so you can refresh everything. We definitely got to wake people up. My cousin says China and Russia saw that the cathedral was weak and they're making their moves against them. There's a lot of interesting things that are happening. I have a secret crush on TPA. That's cute. You hear that, TPA? Ronnie's a beautiful lady. You're good, beautiful lady inside and out. Trixie, I just realized I was on X2. Wonder where the hell all the comments were coming from. Well, the way I'm seeing it on my end is it puts all the comments from both Rice TVX and Rice TVX2 in the same window so that I'm able to view. And I can't distinguish where they're coming from. I just know people are watching. They want us to live in pods and eat bugs. And I can confirm that Michael did send me a message talking about living in pods and eating bugs. I think this is one of your goals, is it not? BTC is definitely up. I'm here. It looks like TPA already knows because I'm still kind of behind in the chat. We still got the X. We got the X. All right. MBH Luke Skywalker, I did get your message on Telegram. I will get in touch with you. I'm telling you, it is so crazy. I want to be talking to a few people about helping out and becoming a part of the team here at Rice TVX to help alleviate some of my responsibilities, because as of now, I am a one-man band and it's hard to keep up with all the communication on all the social media platforms and email and everything else, because I'm scheduling the interviews, I'm doing the interviews, I'm editing interviews, I'm uploading the content, I'm promoting the content, I'm making the thumbnails. So I can't wait to kind of form a team and be able to put together better content and be able to utilize my time more effectively. That's going to be a beautiful thing. I really think that once I get to that point, there will be an immense improvement in the level of information and how I convey information in future videos. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I've been doing the best that I can with this channel since January of 2018 by myself, never understanding anything about video editing or SEO or any of that stuff. And it's been a learning process. And at this point, with the channel growing, I definitely need to get some help. So that's where I be at. That's where I am. All right. So, yeah, a lot of people are bought and paid for, unfortunately. I'm assuming here there's a misspelling, but thank you. You're talking about part 2 of the video I did yesterday on the Great Reset. There's a lot of really interesting information in that. Hit that notification bell, smash that like button. Okay, refresh should work. Awesome. because I'm definitely not putting out content. I'm putting out a lot of content. I'm probably putting out more content than most people can keep up with. But I've got 3 different shows covering a lot of different topics that all go underneath that umbrella of freedom. She's fire. She's fire. Okay, Jason Moore. Putin is not a good guy, but he might have a legit reason here. And yeah, if you look at it from his perspective, from a patriotic Russian perspective, he's just trying to put the Soviet Union back together. So there are people in Russia that agree with wanting to reform the Soviet Union. So that's interesting to think about. Not sure where you're located. That would be putting 7 hours. So somewhere in Spain, South Africa, somewhere in Africa, Greece. That's all in that time. 3 o'clock is late. I try to be in bed by 3. Try to be in bed by 2. I get up late. I live on West Coast hours. Thanks for understanding, MBH. I appreciate you. You're welcome, and thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Jason, under no circumstances, Putin a good guy. You're right. I guess I might have shown that, or you're repeating the comment. Not sure if it was my mistake. I mean, if you need me, just let me know where I can help. Missing something here. All righty. Let's build back better for real. Support Rice TVX. Yes, but we're not going to build back better. We're going to, because building back is building something that's already existed. We need to construct new ways to move forward. So we need to destroy to rebuild. That would be the way I put it. Instead of build back better, because we definitely don't need to build backwards. Andy, I really appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that about my hard work, because I did spend a lot of time doing research. I'm actually a little burnout research over the weekend and the past few days in regards to the World Economic Forum stuff and in regards to Russia and Ukraine. There's a lot of information. So it's it definitely has taken its toll. But after tonight's live stream, I'm going to be done for the evening. Actually, no, I've got to edit a video, but it won't take me long to edit, and then I'm done for the evening. I'll have a few hours to myself, and then I go to bed and start everything over tomorrow. But hopefully we'll get this team going and be able to improve what's happening here at Rice TVX. Michael Crumrine, Hollywood has been promoting the pod living in or a 2-class system. Elites get the good life. Everyone else gets the metaverse, a pod, and a bug ration. What's interesting about that is, you've seen all this promotion of the tiny homes, the small homes, even communal living between families with bigger homes and things to that effect. It's pretty interesting. There's definitely a lot of it's rations, I think, bug rations, but yeah, the spelling of that definitely got me. You're making me think. It's all good. I don't expect everybody always to watch my videos, and I don't expect everybody to always get involved in the live comments. So the fact that you're listening, I definitely appreciate, especially the fact that you're listening while you're doing dinner. So thank you for having me in your house. Thank you again. I should be on Around a Blockchain this Friday, Steph. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. It means a great deal, especially somebody that works with BitBoy and TJ, all good people. The Soviet Union starved 6 million Ukrainians. People were eating their children. That is terrifying to think about. The puppet Ukraine has been killing Russian. The puppet Ukraine government has been killing Russian-speaking Ukrainians since 2014. There's a lot of divide in in Ukraine about where people want to see the future of Ukraine going. Some people want it to be independent, and some people want it to be a part of the Soviet Union. So it's a lot of conflict. Jim, I appreciate you tuning in. We're going to be wrapping up the video here in just a few. I'm about through the comments, but I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. MBH, Ancient Proverbs says, an enemy of my enemy is a friend. Putin helping taking down the globalists is okay by me. If that's what's going on. I'm not saying it's not, and I'm not saying it is. I am trying to look at this thing with an open mind as the open-minded skeptic and look at this from that perspective. it's an interesting thing to consider. That's why I'm just trying to report the information that's available, because this is hard to report on, being again that there is so much misinformation, propaganda, old video footage, and photographs being utilized. To my mods, if you see comments like this, please just go ahead and block that user. That's a bot. I'm trying to get people to keep up with the bots as much as possible. So Ronnie and TPA, I'd appreciate it if you could help out, and I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Jonah, don't push the red button, Putin. Just smoke one. He's an interesting guy. He definitely is. TPAs, that's my jam too. Ethan Lucas and Rice crushed it. I appreciate you enjoying the spirituality of law. The videos of the Bible guy are absolutely fantastic. And coming from you, TPA, that actually is a compliment, man, because I don't think that you're a Christian. I think we've had this conversation before, but I don't think that you believe in things to that effect. So the fact that you do tune in and that you're even saying that, and I could be wrong, I definitely appreciate. And we need a new frontier. We should be striving to get off world. That's easier said than done, but we can build better solutions on this world, and we can build alternative systems for us to utilize. 100%. Thank you again. Let's see. Love the Bit Squad. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate everything that Ben Armstrong and everybody at BitBoy Crypto and Hit Network are doing to support Rice TVX, having me on regularly on Around the Blockchain, and also BitSwap Dex as a sponsor is definitely very much appreciative. I'm appreciative of all of that, and it means a great deal to have support from my peers. Me and Ben started our channels around the same time period, and we've known each other pretty much the entire time. Good people. I have nothing bad to say about them. Jason, when the Soviet Union existed, I could say I love USA and nobody would call me a Nazi. Yeah, it's crazy that you're talking about the 80s. And it's crazy to think about how much has changed since the 80s, because there was all this anti-communist rhetoric, all this anti-Russia rhetoric from a communist perspective, from the USSR, the Soviet Union. And it used to be normal. Everybody used to be patriotic and care about the United States and wouldn't speak out against presidents and the nation the way that we do today. So it's really interesting to see how all that has changed and reflected. Thank you. I appreciate that, Steph. Let's see here. Michael, if you don't have a wrench, I'll make sure I give you a wrench so you can help with all the crap going on sometimes in the chat. I appreciate. No, it's all good. I don't know if he's a globalist or not. Like I said, he is part of the World Economic Forum. So Klaus Schwab has his great reset agenda with the World Economic Forum. Again, if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2 of the Great Reset series, definitely check those out. Part 2 came out yesterday. That's where I shared some information about President Zelensky being a comedian actor who was playing in a show about a teacher who became president of Ukraine. And then later he ran for president and became president of Ukraine. So he is an actor. Let's see here. All right, we're pretty much at the end here. I'm just going to go ahead and shout out the last few comments, and then we're going to wrap up. Bible guy drives me insane. He needs to look up hermetism. His name is Ethan Lucas. It's an interesting conversation. I don't say that I agree with everything that he says 100%, but we definitely have some intriguing conversations. And no, he's familiar with esoteric stuff. But again, man, I would definitely like to have you on the show, Michael, because me and you have been talking on and off for several years now, and you've been really saying some really interesting things. And I've been saying, well, I got to get you on the show. So we've got to get you on the show. You're fam, and I'd love to get your perspective. Ukraine is basically in civil war, and Russia is moving in to restore balance. That's a good way of looking at it, Jason. That is a perspective that people could take in effect in Russia favor, that is. Wolverines. I think we're talking about some Red Dawn. That's China invading the United States, and I don't think that's going to happen. But China invading Taiwan, that's a possibility. I believe Putin is against the NWO globalist. Okay, well, Charlie, do you also know that Putin is a part of the World Economic Forum? He is an alumni of the Young Global Leaders. Justin Trudeau is a part of the Young Global Leaders. These are politicians that were put into place and helped to be put into place to be able to push an agenda. So I'm not really exactly sure where Putin stands. Is he a globalist? Is he fighting globalism? We have to pay attention a little bit more. And that's why I tell people to look at independent and alternative sources in addition to what the mainstream is saying. They want the world broken up to 3 or 4 blocks. I think it's 10, if you go by what the Bible says. Nick Rogers, speaking out against corruption, president is patriotic. Speaking out against corrupt presidents is patriotic. Yes, it is. It is. But there were lots of corrupt presidents, and you think about the treatment of Nixon after he left office. So that's something to consider. Jeff says, I missed you, bro. They mess with you more than any YouTuber I know. You know who is blowing up a little right now that you had on your show is Paul Unslaved. I definitely want to get Paul Unslaved back on. But yeah, my channel definitely deals with a lot of shadow banning and censorship, man. And if you're not getting if you don't have the notification bell turned on, turn it on. If you do have it turned on, you're not getting notifications. Turn it off, turn it back on. And I also encourage people to periodically unsubscribe from my channel and resubscribe. So that way you can refresh everything. You are very, very, very welcome, ma'am. And yes, the State of the Union is coming up, and that should be entertaining. That's going to be in 40 minutes from now. Biden's going to be doing his State of the Union address. State of the Union slapper. Okay. Taiwan is next. Taiwan is next, and then Australia. Australia might already kind of be. Seems like China has a lot of influences of what's going on in Australia. China will invade Taiwan in early spring. They are waiting for the Eastern Strait weather to clear. We shall see. We shall see. And we shall talk about it on a future show. So again, if my schedule doesn't work out with you on my Calendly, Michael, hit me up so that we can work something out. Okay. Mr. X is saying, how many factions have their own versions of Putin and Trump? Yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot of theories. There's just a lot of theories going on out there. So use critical thinking. Think for yourself. Don't be a part of this herd mentality and listen to these various narratives, whether it's from the mainstream or whether it's from these cult conspiracy groups. Use critical thinking. Think for yourself. In this day and age, you're going to have to fact check stuff. You're going to have to look at multiple sources so that you can form an opinion, not based off a direction that somebody's trying to steer you. Because most of our news articles and our mainstream news is steering you towards a narrative. Psychologically, the words they choose and everything. So again, use independent and alternative sources and do research. Think for yourself. Use critical thinking. And I always remind people that when enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people. Red Dawn won't be Russia. It'll be the UN. And that's definitely a possibility. Everything the MSM says is the exact opposite. I would agree with a lot of that, but not all of it. Red Dawn doesn't need to happen because they run the show here already. And also, we got to think war is not going to take place the way that we think war is going to take place. We've moved on a little bit. We've become a little bit more civilized. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see traces of what we've seen in the past. But we have such an advancement that these sanctions, taking Russia off the SWIFT system, cyber attacks, power grid attacks, these are going to have real effect. And can have just as much of an effect as destroying cities and killing lots of innocent people. So it's going to be interesting to pay attention to. And I'm going to try my best to keep up with developments on the situation and try to report them. Again, I apologize for the long video, but I had to put together as much information as I could after being able to see a clearer picture, being able to look through the misinformation, the propaganda, the old photos, the old videos, and see what's actually happening as best as possible and relay that to you. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't smashed the like button, do smash the like button. It definitely helps the channel out, and it would be greatly appreciated. Let's see if there's anything else real quick before we pop out. MBH, we are the ants, they're grasshoppers. We got gutted from the inside. Hold the line. And I appreciate the fact that you loved the video. Thank you so much, Ronnie. And I appreciate everybody again for tuning in. Other than a video coming out on Wednesday and a possible live stream, I will be doing a live stream on Thursday. Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. So Friday the 4th of March at 5 o'clock p.m. I'll be on BitBoy Cryptos around the blockchain. And then 7 o'clock p.m. Friday, the 4th of March, I will be live on Rice TVX and Rice TVX2 for the newest episode of Crypto Rewind. And me and Satoshi Sean will be joined by Ken Bozak. So that'll be on Friday. I may have a video coming out Saturday. There may not be any videos coming out. I'm going to be doing some cleanup in the studio and around my house and running some errands this weekend. So I want to be taking most of the weekend off from content. But there'll be 5 to 6 videos out this week by the time Friday ends. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate everybody for joining. I'm going to go ahead and throw up my thumbnail so we can end this video, this long video. Dude, thank you so much. Again, make sure you subscribe to Rice TVX2, the backup channel. Make sure you're following me on Odyssey and Library, where I have a full catalog of all of my videos. Make sure you subscribe to Rice TVX on BitChute. Sign up for the mailing list at Rice TVX. And I will leave you with this. Be blessed. Be the change. Practice change. Much love.